On a sun-drenched Tuesday afternoon, 23-year-old Clara sat cross-legged on the living room floor, her laughter mingling with 5-year-old Leo's as they pieced together a sprawling Lego fortress. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting playful patterns on the colorful rug where they sat, lost in their own world of imagination and make-believe. Clara's gentle encouragement made Leo's eyes light up with pride every time he snapped a new block into place. To the Millers, Clara was more than just a babysitter. She was a trusted friend, a steady presence who brought warmth and calm into their home. Reliable, patient, and endlessly creative, she was adored by their son and respected by his parents, who often marveled at her ability to turn even the most ordinary afternoon into an adventure. But beneath her unassuming exterior, Clara harbored a secret life. No one suspected that just hours before, while the city slept, she had quietly siphoned cryptocurrency from a vulnerable gambling site overseas, her fingers dancing across the keyboard in the glow of her laptop screen. By day, she packed lunches with care, soothed tantrums with a gentle touch, and read bedtime stories with a soft, reassuring voice. But when night fell and the world grew quiet, Clara transformed into Nyx, a skilled hacker who navigated the digital underground with confidence and precision, her mind sharp and her resolve unwavering. Her double life wasn't born out of thrill-seeking or rebellion, but out of sheer necessity. Crushed by the weight of student loans and mounting family medical bills, Clara found herself drowning in debt, desperate for a way out. The pressure was relentless, the numbers on her statements growing larger and more intimidating with each passing month. Babysitting, though rewarding, barely covered her rent, let alone the relentless interest piling up on her debts. She counted coins at her kitchen table, stretching every dollar, but it was never enough. The anxiety gnawed at her, a constant reminder of how close she was to losing everything. So Clara built a wall between her two worlds. By day she was the trusted caregiver, the smiling babysitter who could be counted on in any crisis. By night she became Nyx, the ghost in the machine, taking small sums from faceless corporations and shadowy gambling sites, always careful, always precise. Her tools were simple but effective, a nondescript laptop, encrypted systems, and VPNs that scattered her digital trail across continents. She studied cybersecurity forums, learned from the best, and always stayed one step ahead of those who might try to trace her. To her friends and employers, Clara was just a quiet college student, balancing classes, work, and a social life with quiet determination. She blended in easily, never drawing attention to herself, always careful to keep her two worlds separate. But in the shadowy corners of the internet, she was something else entirely. A clever operator, invisible and untraceable, her digital fingerprints erased as quickly as they appeared. She moved through the underground with a quiet confidence, always alert, always calculating her next move. Clara's life was a careful balancing act, each day a test of her ability to keep her secret world hidden behind the mask of the perfect babysitter. Every smile, every reassuring word was part of the delicate facade she maintained. No one would ever guess the truth, that beneath the surface of the unassuming guardian was a mind as sharp as any detective's, and a heart willing to do whatever it took to protect the ones she loved. Clara's journey into hacking began with curiosity, not crime. She was never drawn to the dark side of the internet for its own sake, but rather for the challenge and the thrill of discovery. The digital world felt like a vast, uncharted territory, and she wanted to understand every corner of it. As a teen, she was fascinated by the hidden architecture of the internet, spending hours learning about security and vulnerabilities. She devoured online tutorials, forums, and open-source projects, piecing together knowledge late into the night while her family slept. The more she learned, the more she realized how much was concealed beneath the surface. Her first hack was accidental, bypassing a paywall to access academic papers she couldn't afford. It wasn't about stealing, it was about breaking through barriers that felt unfair, about gaining access to knowledge that should have been free. The thrill was intoxicating, not for theft but for solving a puzzle. Each small victory felt like unlocking a secret door, and she relished the sense of accomplishment that came with it. Soon she saw vulnerabilities everywhere, reporting flaws to companies anonymously. She felt a sense of responsibility, believing she could help make the internet a safer place, even if no one knew her name. But her hobby turned serious after a threatening letter from a debt collector. Suddenly, the abstract world of code collided with harsh reality, and the pressure mounted. Babysitting paid little, her debt felt insurmountable. The weight of financial stress pressed down on her, making her question if her skills could be used for more than just curiosity. Desperation blurred her ethical lines. She found herself rationalizing actions she once would have condemned, telling herself it was just temporary, just to get by. She realized she had the skills to access digital money protected by weak security. The temptation grew as she saw how easily she could slip past digital locks that others trusted. What started as intellectual curiosity became a lifeline. The digital rabbit hole she'd once explored for fun now offered a way out of her real-world problems. The pressure of real-world problems turned her from hobbyist to cybercriminal. Each decision felt heavier, but the path forward seemed inevitable. The line between right and wrong faded. Clara's sense of self shifted, her old values clashing with her new reality. Clara's new reality was set. She had crossed a threshold, and there was no turning back. Clara, as Nix, never targeted individuals, only large, impersonal entities. She rationalized her actions. A few missing dollars meant nothing to massive corporations, but everything to her. Hacking was a slow, methodical process, weeks of research, patient reconnaissance, and exploiting human error. She studied company reports, mapped networks, and gathered information from public sources. Her favorite technique was social engineering, finding clues in what employees carelessly shared online. The technical side was equally precise, scanning for outdated software, crafting targeted phishing emails, and waiting for the perfect moment. For Clara, hacking was a game of patience and psychology, not brute force. She was a detective, not a thief. Each operation was a carefully orchestrated heist, and she was very, very good. Clara's real superpower was understanding people. Her babysitting job taught her how to earn trust and read subtle cues, skills she used online to manipulate targets. She knew that urgency and specificity made her phishing emails believable. Details gleaned from research, like referencing a recent company project, lowered defenses. The overlap between her two worlds was uncanny. The same persuasive tactics worked on both stubborn children and distracted employees. She became a master of social engineering, blending in and guiding people to do what she wanted. With families, she was the quiet, reliable sitter, almost invisible. Online, she was a ghost, orchestrating digital heists with precision. Her greatest defense was her unassuming persona. No one suspected the girl singing nursery rhymes was also a skilled hacker. Her camouflage was perfect. The world never saw her coming. Living two lives was exhausting. By day, Clara was present and cheerful. By night, she was anxious, always checking for digital traces. The isolation was crushing. She couldn't share her secret with anyone. Paranoia crept in. Every police car, every knock at the door felt like a threat. She became obsessed with security, changing passwords and using encrypted apps. The stress took a toll, sleepless nights, weight loss, and constant fear. She lied easily, telling the Millers she was just tired from studying. The double life that kept her afloat was also her prison. The walls she built to protect herself only made her lonelier. Clara was trapped by her own secrets. The $50,000 debt drove everything Clara did. Each successful hack chipped away at the total, tracked in a hidden spreadsheet. Small victories brought hope. She could finally afford small luxuries and pay down her loans. But success brought normalization. What once felt risky became routine. She told herself it was temporary, just until the debt was gone. But the line kept moving. She took bigger risks, targeting larger organizations. The more she succeeded, the more she justified her actions. The danger grew with every operation. The debt was shrinking, but the stakes were rising. Clara's solution was becoming her greatest risk. She was in deeper than ever. With most of her debt paid, Clara grew bold. She planned one final, ambitious hack, a mid-sized fintech company with tight security. The plan was complex, a multi-stage attack, custom scripts, and weeks of preparation. For the first time, guilt crept in. Real people could be hurt if she succeeded, but the lure of freedom was too strong. On the night of the attack, her hands shook as she breached the network. She was in, but quickly realized the company had upgraded its security. Silent alarms triggered, a cybersecurity team began tracking her every move. Clara didn't know it yet, but her digital trail was being followed. The game had changed. She was no longer invisible. The risk had never been higher. Clara escaped the network before stealing anything. but the line between guilt and innocence had already blurred. She thought she could outrun the consequences, but the digital world never forgets. Every keystroke, every login, every late-night message left a trace, a breadcrumb leading back to her. The damage was done, and Clara felt it in every anxious breath. She barely slept, haunted by the possibility that someone, somewhere, was watching her every move. Her digital fingerprints were collected and handed to federal authorities. The investigation moved quietly, methodically, as experts pieced together her online trail. For weeks, she lived in fear, desperately trying to erase her online identity. She deleted files, wiped drives, and scoured forums for advice, but nothing could erase the dread that clung to her. Then, one crisp autumn morning, the inevitable knock came. The FBI stood at her door, their presence both terrifying and strangely expected. The world slowed as she saw the agents, her two lives colliding in an instant, the secret hacker and the devoted daughter, now exposed in the same fragile moment. There was no escape, no more lies to tell, no more stories to invent. The truth was out, and Clara felt the weight of it settle on her shoulders. The agents were calm, almost gentle, as they explained they had traced the cyber intrusion to her. Their words were measured but final. They knew everything. Nix, the hacks, the failed fintech job, every secret she thought was buried had been unearthed and catalogued. Strangely, Clara felt relief. The burden of secrecy was finally gone. The fear that had ruled her life for months began to ebb, replaced by a quiet resignation. She called Mr. Miller, voice trembling, to say she couldn't pick up Leo. The words caught in her throat, heavy with meaning she couldn't explain. The conversation was surreal, as if she were watching someone else's life unravel. It was the end of her old life, the start of something unknown. As she was led away, Clara knew the girl who built Lego fortresses was gone. In her place stood someone changed by secrets, by choices, by consequences. Her secret world had ended, leaving only memories and the hope that, one day, she might build something new from the ruins. News of Clara's arrest stunned the community. The perfect babysitter, a cybercriminal, it seemed impossible. Parents replayed every memory, searching for missed signs. There were none. The Millers were devastated, unable to reconcile the Clara they knew with the headlines. In court, her story emerged. A desperate young woman, crushed by debt, who used her skills to survive. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to federal prison. The money she'd worked so hard to steal was forfeited. Her double life solved one problem, but created a bigger one. Clara's story became a modern fable, a warning about the invisible pressures that drive ordinary people to extraordinary acts. In the quietest corners, the deepest secrets can hide. And sometimes, the most unassuming faces carry the heaviest burdens.